you have entered the fail zone. What is up? What is going on? Michelle, the share marketer here. Welcome to Failures Are Individual Lessons. This is a podcast where we get raw and uncut about our failures and our mistakes with the end goal of being able to realize they're simply lessons. And so I am super stoked today to have a special guest with me, Mr. Pascal Tremblay. We talked before this recording. I'm going to probably mess up some of these words, but he's okay with that. But I want to first welcome you. Thank you for coming onto the podcast. I really appreciate it. When I asked Pascal to describe himself, he said, I'm a military brat that followed in the steps of my father. He was born in Chicoutimi, Quebec, so he speaks French most of the time. And since his father was in the forces, he actually learned to speak English due to the number of moves that his father had had throughout his career. Now, Pascal has an extensive military background that, as you're going to hear, played a very important role in the story that he is going to share with us today. But I wanted to tell you that he is known as the confidence coach. He helps people boost their self-esteem and confidence through a motivational 12-week military-style boot camp. The first 2 weeks is all about learning about oneself, and I personally find that powerful because how can you move forward in your goals and aspirations if you don't even believe in yourself? That said, I'm going to quiet up and I'm going to bring Mr. Pascal Tremblay to the stage, to the video, whatever you want to call it. But I did ask him a favor. I asked him if he could introduce himself in French, because I love how it sounds, and then he's going to translate it for us, and then we're going to get into the meat of the show. Okay, go ahead.
Bonjour, mon nom est Pascal Tremblay, militaire dans les Forces armées canadiennes et puis coach en confiance en soi, en estime de soi. Je suis très content d'être ici aujourd'hui. Alors, merci de l'invitation. Now, in English, hello, my name is Pascal Tremblay, military force member and a confidence and self-esteem coach. I'm just really happy to be here today, so thank you for the invitation.
You are very, very welcome. Let's dig right into, and I like people to kind of get an understanding of your background, because when you are going to share with us your story today, there's some vulnerability in this, and I want to thank you for being able to tell us what you're going to share today. I really appreciate it. I'm first going to ask you, how do you define failure?
Failure is when you haven't done everything you can to actually reach a goal or a dream. Once you know that everything has not been done, then you have failed.
Wow. I have not ever heard that perspective before, and I find that really powerful. That said, let's dig into what was your biggest failure and how did that affect you?
Well, like we've spoken before, my biggest failure was not finishing my studies, actually. Not being able to. I had to work. So throughout my career, because it's very technical, I found out that even though I haven't finished everything and that I knew what I was doing, I got a lot of condescending looks and remarks, just because of, well, he probably doesn't know because he never finished that or that. While, yeah, electronically, physics, science, I eat that stuff, so I know a lot, and I can pretty much explain the same thing that anybody else.
But you didn't have the degree behind it, so
Nope.
People look down on you.
Exactly.
Now, you had told me a story about, it was an electrical, there was a situation where you had the answer, and can you share that a little bit, that story? Because that was powerful.
Yeah, I've got several of those. I was working on an F-18, and there was an electrical problem, upon which we had to explain what was the problem to the maintenance officer. And it pretty much the person that was with me decided to take charge of the explanation just because, Pascal probably doesn't know because he's not that great. He doesn't have the qualifications I've got.
Mm.
So that's when I just looked at him. At first, it was just, okay, he just wants to show off because I'm not much of a show off in the forces. I just let people do their thing and that's it. But yeah, it really actually affected me at that time because, I'm not stupid. I know what I'm doing. And it really, having that happening a few times really just ate at my confidence and my self-esteem. So it wasn't that great. And, at first you don't really think about it, but after a while, you get to know, the feeling inside.
So even though you had, the military strength and, you know, all this, I don't know about the military, but I know that there's a lot of discipline involved. But even with all of that, because you didn't have the degree, your self-confidence was hurting, or even
Yep.
to the point of lacking because of how others were viewing you. You knew that you knew what you were talking about, but the way that
Yeah.
they viewed you, knocked you down some pegs. So what did you end up doing?
Uh, Actually, well, some years later, I mean, a few years ago, I actually went back to school and I went to get a degree. It was in real estate, but for me, it was a big step, like telling myself, I'm not a dumbass. I can do this. And my confidence actually went up a lot,
That's
just knowing that I can do anything. Already, I did some crazy stuff in the forces, but just that, I guess that diploma meant more to me than just jumping off, skydiving or something like that.
wow. I can't even imagine jumping off of anything.
It's a thrill.
But see, but that's what's amazing to me though. So many people could look up like, oh my gosh, wow, you're like a superhero. You're jumping off of stuff. You have all this training, but yet inside here, because of how people treated you in certain situations, you didn't have that confidence and you saw yourself as a failure. But I'm going to ask you this. Did you go back to school because you thought that that was going to soothe the ache that came from not having a degree?
No, I had other plans in mind because eventually I'll have to retire. And that was kind of my way to, plan my retirement. But at the same time, as I was doing the class and the grades were there, and then, all of those little things, you're in class and you remember things like what the teacher said the day before, and it was interesting, and you were interested, just being part of it, and then just passing with very good grades and all, and you just tell yourself, wow, I am not a dumbass. I mean, I'm actually a guy that knows how to think. I mean, I'm not that how could I say, low on the scale, right? So
But
that was my boost right there, because I could do it without any problem.
so did getting the degree give you all that confidence back? I mean, was it solved just like that?
No, well, it was a process. I mean, the whole course as I was going, tests and then the final exam, which was pretty big for me here. And then you get the certificate, and wow, I mean, yes, I knew it. When I got it through the mail, I was in my car and I had actually a few tears going down, like saying, yes, I can do this.
You accomplished, yeah, that's
Yeah.
huge. That's huge. And again, I applaud you. I just a side note, my grandmother, when she passed a couple years ago at 97 years old, but she had to drop out of high school to take care of the family when her parents had passed away. And fast forward, she owned a business along the way, but at 74 or 75 years old, she went back and got her high school diploma. And that to me it just spoke so much into my life, because regardless of your age, regardless of what you've been through, if there's something that you want to do for you, which like you did it, you accomplished it. And regardless of what anybody else thinks, that was something that you can say, yay me, I did it. And that is powerful. And I'm sure and this is what I believe, with your being a confidence coach, it's so amazing that you're going to be able to take all that you went through and pour that into your clients, because you know what a lack of self-esteem and a lack of confidence feels like amidst, being this awesome military guy and having all this experience and training. And I mean, that's powerful, because I think people go through life a lot of time and they have this outside persona of, how the world sees them, but inside, because of certain situations that have happened along the way, they're really not who they are showing themselves to be to the world. They're actually hurting inside. So I applaud you for stepping up and doing that. Now, I asked you for a favorite quote, and it's from one of the best movies. I love this movie, Transformers. And the quote was, see, for these guys, failure is not an option. Okay. Now, I want to go a little deep here, because we talked, and as a pharmacist, failure is not an option, because if I make a mistake, I could cost someone their life. You're in the military. Failure is not an option, because on a different side of things, someone's life is in your hands. I want us to look at, if we see failure as not an option in one arena, but then we also realize that if we fail, well, we have to fail, because we grow stronger and we learn, we grow from our mistakes, and we learn these lessons. What's that balance? Because I do believe that a lot of people go through life. I did before I went through my divorce and other things. I didn't see failure as a lesson. I saw it as, you effed up, confidence goes down, and all the things that come with failure. So I want to discuss with you what that quote means to you, and then how can you apply that to the fact that, okay, yeah, if I fail, it's still a lesson and I can move forward with it.
Well, it goes back to what I described the failure at first. When failure is not an option, means that you haven't done all the effort for something to succeed. Like, well, I'll take an extreme example here. You're on the battlefield. You know something messed up. Have you done everything in your power to avoid the situation? If you did, yeah, the situation messed up, but it's not a failure because you learned from what happened. But if it happened because you didn't pick up the ammo box, you didn't pull the person aside to avoid danger, you failed because you could have done something.
Wow. I just learned something, because I didn't know the answer to that question. I didn't know how to mesh the two together. That's powerful. You know what? Okay. Can you say that again? So, no, because it was so powerful, and I like the example with the military. Say it again. I like it.
Okay. Failure is pretty much, like I said in the example, if you do everything in your power that you know of personally to avoid a disaster, a situation, then it fails anyway. Well, you haven't failed. It's a learning moment. But then if you knew that, like for a pharmacist, you know that 5 milligrams of something will hurt that person, and you haven't done everything in your power to stop that, it is a fail.
Yes. But then, well, hopefully no one gets hurt, but then you can learn next time.
Yeah.
Check the ammo box, or check the prescription better, or something like that.
Yes, one way or another, there's going to be a learning stage. But that's pretty much, for me, the definition between a serious fail and something that only has to be learned.
Can you give, I love the military stuff. Can you give another example? I mean, I know it's going to have the same outcome, but I just like to visualize it for better understanding. Another example from your experience.
Well, I was in the Air Force as an avionics technician, working electronics on aircrafts. And one of the good examples, let's say you change a piece of something in the air, engine-wise, and you follow the procedure, you did everything perfectly, but there's a crash. Have you really done everything? And then, yeah, you followed the books, you got the experience, you had someone check your work. The plane crashed anyways. Well, it's not your failure.
Oh,
Something happened, you don't know. Maybe it's the pilot. Maybe it's a piece that flew off while in flight. It's not your failure.
okay.
It would be hard for the ego because you're the mechanic, you're the expert, you're the technician. Your ego's there, plus you knew the person, so disaster. But is it your failure? No. But you helped replace that engine. You barely skipped through the instructions, the book that we have to follow. And you haven't had, someone to look at your job just saying, well, that's not screwed properly, or, and something happens. Yeah, you failed that majorly because that plane cannot park on the side of a cloud to, repair something and then continue again.
Right. That's a good visual. Wow. That's wow. I like how you pointed out there can be failures that from our perspective, we might consume it and think it's all our fault. But I like how you were saying, if I did my due diligence, I did my part, and something else happened, it's not my failure. And not making light of the fact that the plane crashed and all that, but I do believe that sometimes when things happen in our lives, we can consume it, not realizing it wasn't your fault. You know what I mean? There are times, like you said, if you haven't done what you're supposed to do, you made the mistake, learn from it. But you also have to realize that there are times when it's not all your fault, and you have to be able to see from a perspective of, did I do what I was supposed to do? If I did, I can go to sleep at night. If I didn't, well, it's going to be a hard lesson, but it's a lesson still in the same. So yeah. I appreciate you breaking that down. And I'm going to ask you to summarize for our guests again, biggest failure, results, lesson.
Biggest failure, I didn't finish my studies at first when I was younger. Results, well, for me it was a bit of a lower self-esteem because I could see everyone else having that big shiny thing, which was the certificate, diploma, whichever you want to call it. And then what I took up from it, well, I went back to school and I've proved myself that I can do pretty much anything. And as another result, well, I decided to become a coach. So I've learned from it and I want to help people, get to that level with me.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So you not only learned from your failure, now you are taking that lesson, you've become a coach, and you're actually helping people grow their confidence, grow their self-esteem so that they can go forth with their dreams and aspirations. And I applaud that. I applaud that because it's very selfless to take what you've gone through and apply it to I don't want to call it a career path, but an entrepreneurial journey to be a coach and then bless others with, what you've gleaned from all your experiences. So is there anything else you'd like to share with our guests today before we close?
Yes, well, never be afraid to contact me if you see me on Facebook, even if it's just to say hi. I love to chat with people, so never be afraid. And I wish everyone the best right now to have a great day.
And you know what? You just made me think about something I took from and I'm going to have Pascal's contact information in the description area on the YouTube channel, as well as on the podcast description. So they can just click and they'll be able to, find you, and as well as have your phone number there. But I was on your page and I saw something that you posted and I wanted to share it and I almost forgot. So I'm glad you said that. I saved it to my photos. Okay. This was powerful. Pascal had a post on his page, and the word passion, you probably remember this one. It has a guy, very strong bodybuilder. Listen to this. Passion is when you put more energy into something than is required to do it. It is more than just enthusiasm or excitement. Passion is ambition that is materialized into action to put as much heart, mind, body, and soul into something as is humanly possible. And this was from Jim in Motivation. When I read that, wow. And I guess the reason I wanted to share that was you have such a passion for what you do. So to post something like this, you're just showing us, how powerful an impact you're going to be having in people's lives, and that you are having as being a coach. And I just wanted to share that because you need to go check out his page and contact him. Again, self-confidence, a self-esteem coach, Mr. Pascal Tremblay. Thank you again for being here. And what do I always say, everybody? Keep your head up and keep moving forward. Okay, bye-bye.